Hello again and welcome back to Ruby the Elite. And we have a new restoration video starting today. And it's on my Elite 250. Volume 1 begins. So I just bought this bike, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And I've been itching to get started. You know, it's in pretty good shape. I'd give it a 7 or 8 out of 10 considering. You know, it's got some bumps and bruises, and we'll go ahead and fix these up and make it look as nice as we can. We're going to keep the red paint because I'm not painting it. And then just anything else like this here, we'll cover it up in some fashion so that it'll be, you know, keeping with the 80s theme, but not all blistered everywhere. You could see here how the previous owner, he used some pinstriping and actually went around the whole bike. Did a really nice job, and I would have kept this. Except there was a lot of rash right here from where the bike went down somewhere in the past. So I will sand this down and put some new pinstriping in the same place. No big deal. Make it look as nice as we can and still keep with the theme of the 80s. Because that's what this is. This is an 80s scooter. Maybe some big gold and red type pinstripes. Who knows? I'm not sure yet. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff on here that still looks nice, like these Honda emblems. And it's just other things like this that need to have some touch-up black paint done to them. But no big deal. Overall, the plastics look really nice, unfaded shape. But who knows what we're going to find under this transmission case. That's always a lot of fun. Just taking the panels off and seeing what previous owners have done to the bike over the past 3 decades. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. We talk about what they've done to the bike, but it is going to be a lot about what they haven't done. And, you know, I took this bike for a 15 or 20 minute ride when I got it, just to find out how it rode, to be honest. You know, how did the tires feel? How did the suspension feel? How did it feel in the transmission as the bike was speeding up and slowing down? There's a lot of things that you can figure out in your mind after you've spent enough time on these bikes to know what you're going to have to do in order to get it to run at peak performance. And don't think for a second you're going to buy a 30-plus-year-old bike and not have to do something to it. But that's what makes it fun, because these Honda engines, they're built like tanks. I compiled a list in my mind and then I put it on paper, and this is what I always come up with. And I got this all ahead of time. The first thing was the tires. The tires on the bike are all wrong. These are much better. Definitely going to be an upgrade there. It wasn't stopping real good, so I got some new OEM Honda brake pads. Definitely going to help with the stopping action. I bought these. This is kind of a bonus added thing. These are Dr. Pulleys, and these are sliders. They're definitely an upgrade to the rollers that are in the bike, which probably have flat spots on them, but we'll see in the future with that. And I got one of these new caps, new oil filter, just because the one on the bike didn't look nice. Ordered me a brand new petcock and fuel tank filter. Almost all of my bikes have had to replace this. A new fuel filter. I've actually got an OEM one I'm going to use instead, though. That was an add-on bonus. New air filter. I'm not sure if I'll need this or not. We'll see. Brand new belt. Almost every bike I've ever purchased, old bike, always has an old belt. This is a Bando belt. Very good quality are Bandos. So we'll measure the width difference between this and the old one when it comes time, just to see if it needed to be replaced or not. New spark plug. DPR 7EA9. We have our new headlight assembly. If you haven't seen it yet, I did a video showing you the OEM compared to this one. Definitely a great upgrade. We've got some new coolant, of course, Honda coolant that we're going to put in the bike. We've got some new GN4 in the back, 10W40. The 40 because I live in a very warm state, so it's better to add the 10W40. And this list is going to definitely help save me time having all these things ordered and ready to go That way you're not waiting on them. And you know that you're going to have to replace everything here. Oh, I forgot. The clutch. I ordered this new clutch assembly. Came with a new bell, new weights, new springs. We're going to see how the bike rides with it. Again, 11,000 miles on the bike. More than likely, the pads need to be replaced. You know, when you do the new transmission, replacing everything, we'll see how much better it runs with this new clutch. And I got a feeling it probably needs to be replaced. But getting back to this bike, let's get started and start taking these panels off. All right, let's go ahead and remove the seat because, of course, that's always going to be in our way. And we've got our inner plastics, which do look nice. They're not sun-dyed at all. They look pretty dark. Very happy about the shape these are in. Let's go ahead and get them off. Just a few bolts hold those on, and here you go. Access right there, and we'll go ahead and tape the nuts and screws right to what we removed them from. That way it makes it easy to install them back on. As far as this panel, it's almost identical to the way it installs on the Elite 125. There's like 3 screws that hold it on. And look at, already we have some screws that don't match. But that's a given on a bike that's 35 years old. Screws get lost. But anyway, there's a couple of bolts on the back of this rear piece, and once we remove those, then both side pieces and the rear will all come off, and you can see them right back in there. So once we take those off along with that back, all of it's going to come right off. All right, now we have our panels off. The first thing that I'm going to address are these shocks. These are absolutely terrible. Anybody who has an Elite 250 knows how bouncy and awful they really are. So I've got these PCX 150 shocks that were in my parts bin. And I'm hoping that they're just going to be a bolt-on replacement without having to alter anything. You know, I've seen quite a few videos now of people using CB350 shocks where you've got to use different bolts. You have to use some electrical tape in order to make the bushing. And then you got to use a drill to drill out the eye. No, I don't want to do any of that. And I think by using these original Honda shocks, I might get away with just bolting these on and not worrying about doing any of those things. And you can see the coil is about the same size, so I may not have to remove that skirting over the tire, which would be nice to be able to keep it. Because I noticed those CB350 shocks, they have a wider coil, and it would be much harder to put those on. And then they might end up rubbing into the tire. I don't want to deal with any of that aggravation, where these may work. We're going to give them a shot, and hopefully when we put them on, they're going to give much stability to this bike. Instead of feeling like you're jumping on a mattress, have a nice, comfortable ride. Before moving on with the shocks, I wanted to address these white wires that are in the back of the bike just dangling. Well, these were attached to a trunk storage that was on the rack of the bike when I bought it. Real cheap Chinese junk. Well, it had a light in the back of it, brake light, and it was it was turning off and on, flickering. It didn't work real well. Just so you know, another option if you don't want to buy a tote, you can get one of these small little storage bags. This works great for me. Just figured I'd point that out if you needed something like that. Well, before we even get started, let's unplug the battery. I prefer not to get shocked. It's safety first. Just take the 2 leads off the battery just to protect yourself. Going into the wiring though, you can see here I removed the electrical tape, and all he did was wrap the wire around it. This is not the way that you want to make an electrical connection unless you plan on soldering it afterwards, which he didn't. But he didn't have the skills to solder, so he did what he thought was the only way that you could connect 2 wires. He took some of the insulation off the original and then wrapped a wire that he wanted to tap into with around it. And, you know, there are other options than doing something like this or soldering. So what you want to use as a better option if you don't have soldering skills are these Ttaps. These quick splice Ttaps come in different colors depending on what gauge wire you need to go around. And each of the wire you're tapping into, and the original wire, each will have a piece on it. Now, using this white one as an example, if that's the new wire that you want to tap into your bike, you just stick the wire in the hole and crimp it down good, and that will give you this metal end. And then this is the other piece that you're going to take. You're going to wrap this around the wire on your bike. And when you do, it goes right through the insulation and touches the wire, and then these just plug right together as so. These Ttaps are a great alternative to soldering if you don't have the skills to do so. I wanted to check something while I'm on the side of this bike though. Switching gears again. I'm going to take these screws off. I heard something moving around in here, and I want to know what it is real bad. So there's 4 screws that hold this little piece of plastic on that cover up our air filter. And that is what's right beyond there. The one that I purchased, High Flow Filtro. And it's not a Honda part, but from what I've seen and read, it will do the job fine. And it looks just like the OEM one, but saves me a little bit of money. So I'm wondering if it's just completely melted down to nothing, or why it's flopping around in there, but we're going to find out in a moment what it was, because I was moving the bike around and I could hear something back there. So let's take these screws off and find out. All right, you're going to see what I see, and okay. It's actually a new looking filter. Does not even look hardly that dirty. There is a screw, though, that's supposed to hold this down. Goes right there, and not sure why. The only thing I can think of is when he installed it, he put this on, and wait, hold on. There is the screw was sitting right here. So he just forgot to put the screw back. How do you forget that? How do you put this back on? I mean, that's pretty pathetic. I mean, something as simple as putting the new filter on and you forgot to put the screw back on. You know, I wonder what else we're going to find. You could see the grooves around that filter from it not being installed correct. So I don't think I need this new one yet. I think the old one looks pretty good. I don't think there's too many miles on it. So I'm just going to put it right back in the bike for now. But that's the way you should see the filter. Screwed down like this, and then the cover over the top. And you just... he forgot to put it back on. So there you go, folks. Something as simple as that he couldn't handle. Alright, so I removed the bottom bolt, and I already tried it on the PCX 150 shock. It's the perfect length and type bolt. So I lucked out there so far. Now we're going to go ahead and take the top bolt off, compare the two shocks, see if I'm going to have to do anything as far as the eye and the bushing. Hopefully we get lucky there too. And it looks like we're gonna be lucky because the actual hole is the same size, just the bushing and the eye are different. But the original bushing seems to be in really good shape, so I should be able to swap it over. No worries there. As far as the length, the PCX 150 shock is slightly shorter, but there's a lot more travel on this old shock that it should be a negligible amount. Alright, so I got the bushings out. It was pretty easy using these curved needle nose. And the original bushing is in good shape. No worries there. And once I go to install it, I'll put the original eye in as well. And let's see how that works out. Alright, the bushing is a nice tight fit, almost like it was born there. Now we'll go ahead and try the eye in it. And this is tight as well, which is good. You don't want any play with this. And I'll have to tap that in because I actually can't push it in all the way with my thumb and get it nice and straight. And I've already screwed it in, but I wanted to show you what I use in order to lift the shock up to make my life easier. I just put this curved pair of needle nose under the shock and did a little bit of light pressure, and that allowed me to put the bolt in place after I already installed the top bolt, and this is perfect. It was like meant to be on here. It doesn't have any issues hitting the tire, even though these tires are coming off for a set more appropriate, but it doesn't hit the skirting over the tire. That was important to me. Perfect fit. Alright, I like to jump around, I admit it, folks. We're going to take a look at this next. And this is one of the pieces that have some damage on it from where the bike, somewhere in its life, took a spill or somebody ran into it real hard right here. I'm going to see if I can't bump that out and make it look a little nicer. It's going to have some new pinstriping that's going to go all the way around it, but I want to see if I can make this look a little bit better. And I'm not exactly sure. This was a pretty vicious hit. I mean, almost like somebody's bike or something ran into it. But no worries. I'll make it look better than it looks. We'll do some more work on this over time, but just figured I'd point it out. You know, my eyes wander all the time. Sorry for doing all the jumping, but I start looking at one thing and then boom, I start looking at something else. So that's the way it goes. You know, back to the shocks. They were only going to be put on temporarily. And that's because this exhaust has got to come out anyway. I need to take the shock off to get that tire off. And that's going to be what our real goal is. There's a few bolts that hold it on and some nuts. And once we get all those off, it's going to give us access to that big 24, I think it's a 24 millimeter nut, but we got to remove all this stuff in the exhaust first to even get to it. And there you go, the exhaust is off. There actually was another bolt I couldn't see. It took me a moment to find it. But once I took it off, it looks like the exhaust gasket got damaged. I'm not sure if I did that or if it was like that. It looks like there's a chunk or something missing. I'm going to have to look at that a little bit closer. And if I've got to buy a new gasket, no big deal. I definitely don't want an air leak there. But look at this gold. These are going to look so cool, all nice and cleaned up. Getting rid of this 30-year-old muck and nastiness that's on this. You know, I don't think these rims have ever been cleaned. What a shame. You know, they're going to tie into that gold pinstripe I'm going to put on the outside of the bike. Looking forward to making these just look dazzling clean. That's to come soon. You know, having this new lift, taking this tire off, and everything that's got to be taken off to get to it, it's been a much nicer experience. Also, this little scissor jack helping to keep the front end up. These two tools have been a godsend. Definitely are going to help my back and save me from taking all that Tylenol from crawling around on the floor. Shouldn't have waited to buy these. Just quickly showing you the order. The big nut. Then we got our swing arm. Now our collar. And once we go in that order, now we can get this big tire out of here and get it ready to put a new one on. Alright, now that I have the tire off, you can see right away how dangerous this could have been. You can see this is the rub mark that was created every single time you hit a bump. It was rubbing right here. These are 130/90/10 tires. I think they're just too large for the bike. And also take a look here at the speed rating, 62 miles an hour. That's like 15 miles an hour below what the bike is capable of. I'm not exactly sure why you'd want these on the bike. The tread pattern as well, it's more suited for like a ruckus or a Zuma, something that might go off-road. With these, at even 40 miles an hour, it felt awful. So I'm wondering if he was using this more of a trail bike or what. What reason did he need this tread pattern? At least in my opinion, these are all wrong. Now, what I purchased instead of these, I bought some Michelin bopper tires. Now, I'm not real familiar with the boppers. I have, however, had Michelins. So I'm interested to see from you all, are these any good? These are 120/90/10, so they're one size smaller, and I think better fit for the bike. They're also 75 mile an hour speed rated, so they can handle the speeds of the Elite 250. The tread pattern, a lot more of this rubber on the road than this. And that should be for a much more comfortable ride because a lot more tire is touching the ground. So again, the boppers, let me know what you think of them. If you think they're crap or if you think they're good, let me know. I have no experience with them, so I guess I'm going to find out. But at the end of the day, I think they're a better choice than what was on the bike because just by looking at them, you could tell which ones are better suited for a freeway-capable bike. Just quickly showing you the order of how to remove the front tire. You've got a nut that goes on a very long bolt. There's a collar right here, and then on the other side you want to loosen your brake cable. You also want to remove your speedo cable just so they're out of your way. And you can see this is the other end. This is the long bolt, comes out this direction. And then just be mindful of your brake that's beyond this, your drum. And no worries, comes off very easily. And there you go, the front tire is off. The new little scissor jack was awesome. Great addition. So I've got the center stand holding the rear up. And next time we are going to start on cleaning up back here. I've got some new brake shoes and springs. All the grime and nastiness that's been under here. We're going to get started cleaning all this up. Clean all this as best we can. Little steps. All different kinds of things that we're going to get done. New brake shoes in the front. Clean up the front. Take care of, the stuff. This and that. There's plenty of stuff. I don't want to get into everything. That's for our next video that we will do. This is part 1 just to show you how far along we have. And look what's back in the garage. I figured I'd show you this too. I've got my Morphus back in the garage so we can get this fixed. And hopefully get them both back riding before the end of next week or week after. I'd really love to ride this bike some more now that we got some parts. So, if it's not completed next week, I don't know what the weather is going to be like. So hopefully we get all this done. There's plenty more videos. It's probably going to take me, like I said, 2 or 3 videos, maybe 4. There's still a lot of work that's got to get done on this. And sometimes I take my time with these videos. Maybe I show a little more than I should, but you know what? They're my videos. I'm going to do them the way that I want. I hope you enjoy the way I do them because this is the way they're going to get done. But figured I'd do one more quick walk around. Ruby's sitting back there. She hasn't gotten ridden very much at all lately. Not since we started working on this. It's like one project after another. But if you like my videos, please subscribe. Hit that notification button. We'll be back soon.